Guys, I gotta tell you, I love my Power Pole shallow water anchors. I use them, yes, I use them fishing all the time, especially like today in the springtime, and I'm probably gonna be using them a ton while I'm out here fishing. But the reality is that I use my shallow water anchors, my Power Poles, just like coming up to docks here. And so when I get up to a dock and I just put the boat in the water, instead of tying up to the dock, I can just put my poles down and put my boat in, pull my truck back up front, and then get back in and get going. It just saves time. They're very convenient, very effective. They're effective in fishing situations too, whether it's fishing for bedfish or just picking apart an area. But today, guys, we're going to go back to that boater safety course that we talked about over the last several weeks. And we're going to give you the information about what do you do when you're not in shallow water, when you're in deeper water and you need to use your anchor. Believe it or not, this was a situation. These were some questions that I got some things wrong on. And we don't do it very often, and that's obviously the situation. When you don't do something routinely, you miss some details. So we're going to go over the details about what do you do when you need to throw out an anchor in deep water. How do you do that correctly? We're going to go over all of that. We're going to get out of this shallow water bay, go out into some deeper water, and run you through how to do that. Not only so you know how to do it, but also if you're going to take that boater safety course, you know the things to watch for on those questions. Stick around, guys. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. I'm fishing a little bit before we get to this video about using anchors and deep water anchors, but I do want to show you just how versatile my Power Poles are. I am just picking apart this bank, and if you can see, I've got my poles down, and now I'm just gonna kind of ease up a little bit, and I'll ease up just a little bit. And when I get to the next spot here, I've got some wood that I'm coming up to that I want to fish, and then I will power pole down again. All right, so I told you that we were going to talk about how to anchor your boat, not using your power poles, but if you are in deep water and you need to anchor your boat, there's a specific set of tasks that you need to do in a certain order. Not only, again, to pass the boater safety course, but to be able to do it correctly. Let's talk first about the anchor. A proper anchor for your boat is going to be this type of an anchor that's heavy enough to stop your boat. And the idea is that these prongs will, as it's pulled across the lake floor, will dig into the muck or the rocks or whatever's on the bottom and hold your boat. So what you're doing, knowing that that's the way the anchor works, you are going to first get yourself clear of any obstructions. Now look at this. So I have drifted too close to these piers to actually work. So the first thing I'm going to do is move my boat so that we are clear, because you don't know how much line you're going to take out as you're setting your anchor. So I'm going to get closer to the middle and we'll start over. While I'm moving the boat, we might as well talk about this, because what you're going to do when you move your boat or when you position your boat to anchor, you want to get to a place where you want to anchor, but you want to A, be free of any obstructions, and B, you want to position your boat where you are facing either into the wind, if there is any, or the current. So at this point, I actually have a situation where the wind and the current are going in the same direction, or about the same direction. So I'm now getting myself to the point where and the wind is actually stronger than whatever current we have. So I'm now in a position where I'm kind of facing into the current, or into the wind, I'm sorry. And so now let's go and set our anchor, and we'll talk about how to do that. So the first step when you're deploying your anchor is you need to make sure that your anchor is tied to your boat, secured to your boat first. So how many of us have thrown out the anchor and not had the anchor line tied to the boat and everything went out? So now that that's secured, now the next step, and by the way, guys, always anchor from the bow of the boat, never the stern. Anchoring from the stern is dangerous in that you create a situation where you could capsize or get the point where water is coming in over the stern. So always anchor from the bow. Now what you're going to do is you're going to deploy your anchor, and you're going to allow line to go out. Obviously you've secured the end, but we're going to secure it now. We don't need all that line. And now what we're going to do, we're allowing the boat to drift. If you need to, you can. We've got enough of a breeze to where the breeze is actually going to dig our anchor into the bottom. It's also a very mucky bottom, but we're going to check that by coming back, and the final step is that you take a landmark. Okay, there's a navigational buoy, and it seems as though we are staying still. We are not moving beyond that. So you don't get a landmark until after you've secured your boat. The landmark is there to check to make sure that you remain secure. Okay, there's a buoy, there's a tree, whatever it is, that landmark. We are staying 5 minutes from now, we're still at the same landmark. So we're not drifting, we're not moving. That's the sequence of events. So tie your line to your anchor, tie it to the bow of the boat, don't use the stern. Then throw your anchor overboard, secure it. If you need to, you can run your motor, back your motor up, back your boat up to dig that anchor into the bottom if you need to. And then finally get your landmark so that you know that your boat is staying secure with your anchor. Guys, this is the sequence of events that they teach in the boater safety course when it comes to anchoring your boat in a safe manner. Stay away from other objects, then go ahead and follow that sequence that we talked about. One of the things that I got wrong was I thought in the order that you get a landmark first, and I got this issue wrong. And again, I think it has to do with the fact, like we talked about, is that we don't anchor our boats very often. I mean, we aren't pleasure guys that go out and, have the family, swim off the boat very often. We're out fishing and things, so we use shallow water anchors like our power poles, but we don't use anchors very often. So knowing the sequence of events and the order that you do things in is good, not only to know how to do it, but also to pass the boater safety course. One other thing real quick before I go, you may get into a situation, depending on how deep you are and how long you're anchored, where you have to, in order to pull your anchor up because it's actually snagged on the bottom, you may actually need to engage your motor and drive forward just a little bit in order to get vertical over your anchor to be able to pull it up, because you won't be able to pull it towards you because the tension has been on that anchor this way, and so you may need to pull it up. Be very careful of that you don't, if you have two people, that's the best way to do it, where one person can put the boat in drive and move forward on it while the other is taking out the slack on the anchor line. But otherwise, maybe use your trolling motor, or be real careful about doing that. You don't want to obviously get your anchor line caught up in your prop. Guys, I hope that information is helpful. We'll continue to do some more boater safety things as we move along. Send us your comments, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you again tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.